The auditor flagged it Monday. Janet stared at the email subject line.
Unusual charges on Amex, 43,200. That can't be right.
She opened the attached spreadsheet, row after row of unrecognizable transactions.
I never ate at any of these places. I didn't buy a guitar. This is fraud.
Her corporate Amex had been used for Uber Eats, electronics, a Caribbean trip, all in the last 6 months.
This is more than my annual salary. If they think I did this, I am finished.
The email wasn't just a report, it was a summons. Patrick from Audit had copied HR. Subject: mandatory meeting, unauthorized transactions, Monday, 9 a.m.
Someone's been using my card, and now they're investigating me.
She had until Monday to figure out how $43,200 in charges landed on her company card, and she already suspected who. 6 months earlier, Janet sat at her parents' dinner table, unaware she was about to be robbed by her own brother.
I am drowning in child support. The ex took everything. I can't even afford gas for the pickup.
You'll get through this, Eric. Come on, have some lo mein. I am not letting you starve tonight.
Mid-dinner, Janet's phone buzzed. She excused herself, leaving her purse open on the chair.
She's got that company card. One dinner won't hurt. She'll never even see it.
With a trembling hand, he slipped the Amex from her wallet and snapped a photo with his phone. He returned the card before she came back. No one noticed. The photo sat in his phone like a loaded weapon.
Sorry, that was my boss. So, Eric, have you thought about picking up some overtime?
That night, Eric ordered a feast: sushi, wings, wine, all on Janet's corporate Amex. $43,000 started with a single tap. Janet left the purse on a chair every visit, and Eric checked it every time. The habit became the crime. The first charge was a test, a $40 Uber Eats order. When no one called, Eric's confidence grew.
$40. That's nothing. They won't even see it.
Within a week, he upgraded to a 70-inch television, swiping the card at a Best Buy.
Janet's company pays this automatically. I am basically invisible.
He set up the television in his living room, the cardboard box still on the floor. Then came the Caribbean weekend. Flights, resort, umbrella drinks, all on the Amex.
This is freedom. No one's ever going to trace this back to me.
He even walked into a luthier shop and walked out with a custom electric guitar, $4,700.
Janet's too busy to check. She's got her own life. I deserve a little happiness.
6 months passed, $43,200, and Janet still hadn't opened a single statement. Janet lived in back-to-back video calls, cross-country flights, and endless slide decks. Her Amex statement sat unopened on the credenza.
I'll reconcile the expenses this weekend. Work has been insane.
But the weekend passed, and the next. The corporate account paid the Amex balance automatically every cycle. The system was designed for efficiency, not vigilance. As long as the amount cleared, no one looked further.
The company just pays it. I don't even see the breakdown.
Month after month, the total crept upward, but Janet's attention stayed on quarterly targets.
Another trip. Another late night. When did I become this kind of busy?
By the time the fiscal quarter turned, the card had absorbed $43,200 in invisible weight. Meanwhile, the quarterly audit algorithm began scanning. Janet's name wasn't on anyone's radar yet. The auditor would flag it Monday, but on Friday afternoon, Janet still had no clue. Monday morning, Senior Auditor Patrick sat at his desk, running the quarterly expense analysis. Janet's card flickered on his screen.
Daily Uber Eats, a 70-inch television, a Caribbean resort. This isn't a business expense pattern.
He ran the totals. $43,200, all on a corporate card with a $60,000 monthly limit.
6 months of hidden spending. Either Janet's living a double life or someone else has her card.
He printed the summary and walked to the HR director's office. The pattern was too deliberate to ignore. Hannah looked up from her laptop as Patrick entered. She had seen this face before. Auditors only came in person when it was serious.
Hannah, we have a problem. Janet's card shows a Caribbean trip, a custom guitar, and $43K in non-business charges.
That's not a few accidental swipes. We need to hear Janet's explanation. Schedule her for Monday, 9 a.m.
Patrick clicked send on the calendar invite. Janet's name sat in the subject line, flagged urgent, down the hall. Janet's phone buzzed with the notification. The audit was now a live fire. Janet swiped open the notification. Mandatory meeting. Unauthorized transactions stared back at her. She dropped into her chair and opened the Amex portal. The full transaction history loaded like a confession.
Uber Eats every single day. A 70-inch television. Round trip to Punta Cana. This is a lifestyle, not a mistake.
She minimized the window and pressed her palms against her temples. The only person who had access was her brother.
Eric. He saw my card at Dad's dinner. He was so broke, I even offered to pay for his gas.
She reached for her phone to call him, to scream, to warn, then stopped. The meeting was in 20 minutes.
I can't warn him. I can't fix this. I have to walk in there and tell the truth.
She grabbed her blazer and walked toward HR. Each step on the tile floor a countdown to a verdict. The door to the conference room was open. Patrick and Hannah were already seated, waiting. Janet paused at the threshold. In 30 seconds, she would have to answer one question, and it would upend everything. Janet stepped into the conference room where Patrick and Hannah were already seated. The printed spreadsheet lay between them like an open wound. Patrick pushed the document toward her, his expression unreadable. The list of charges ran 3 pages.
I'll keep this simple, Janet. Do you recognize these charges?
Do I recognize them? I can feel the betrayal in every row, the smaller ones. Dinners, some gas stations. Those were times I told my brother Eric he could use the card for an emergency.
Patrick's pen stopped moving. He looked up, his curiosity sharpening into a more serious focus.
Eric, so you are saying your brother had access without your knowledge?
I never gave him the physical card. He must have copied the number. I had no idea about the big purchases.
The air in the room thickened. They had a suspect, but corporate policy didn't care about family drama. For now, the investigation would shift to Eric, but the company could still hold Janet responsible for every dollar. Before the silence could deepen, Janet reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. She wasn't going to wait for the accusation.
I have the text thread. Eric asked me once, if he could grab dinner on the card. I said yes to that, nothing more.
Hey, can I grab dinner on your card real quick? You replied, okay, just this once. That's the only authorization.
That was 4 months ago. Everything after that, he did on his own. I never saw another charge.
You never opened a single statement in 6 months? That's a failure of cardholder responsibility, Janet.
I was drowning in work. The company auto-paid everything. I'm not proud of it.
The pattern is undeniable. Daily Uber Eats, a Caribbean resort. This is deliberate, sustained fraud.
Patrick circled the charges on the spreadsheet. The evidence was damning, but it pointed away from Janet. Hannah leaned back, her expression unreadable. We'll involve legal and turn this over to the police. Janet nodded. She had done what she could. Now the system would decide whether she was a victim or an accessory. As Janet walked back to her office, Hannah was already dialing corporate legal. The company wasn't waiting for a family reunion.
Yes, I need legal. We have suspected payment card fraud by a non-employee. Total exposure is $43,200.
A few floors below, Patrick began filing the police report with the county. Every charge would now have a case number.
My card is frozen. 20 years with the company and I am suddenly a risk.
Her desk phone rang. Hannah's voice was calm, but carried a warning Janet didn't want to hear.
Janet, I am sorry. Under our card protection policy, you remain personally liable for any loss due to negligent safeguarding.
You are saying I have to pay back $43,000 of my own money, even though Eric stole it.
The police report was live. Eric's name, his address, the full list of charges, all forwarded to the fraud unit. Janet set the phone down. The company had a case against Eric, but she had just become the first victim to pay. Local Precinct 12 filed Eric's photo. The next knock on his door would come from a detective, not his sister. The knock came at 7 a.m. sharp. Eric shuffled to the door in a stained t-shirt and sleep pants.
Finally, the delivery.
But it wasn't a package on his doorstep. 2 detectives filled the frame, badges held high.
What the hell? This is a mistake. I didn't do anything.
They pushed past him into the apartment, the custom guitar still gleaming on its stand, the oversized television still streaming. In the hallway, neighbors whispered as he was handcuffed. The entire building watched him disappear into the elevator. At the precinct, he was booked on felony fraudulent use of a payment card. His bond was set at $40,000, more than he'd ever had. Janet's mother found the arrest on the county website. Her text message arrived seconds later, loaded with fury. "Janet, how could you? He's your brother. You could have just paid the company and kept this private."
I destroyed his life? He gambled mine on takeout and a beach vacation, and I am the one who has to pay for it.
The official notice arrived the next morning, cold and legal.
Janet, the policy is clear. You have 30 days to reimburse $43,200 or we'll have to terminate your employment.
30 days. $43,000. That's my entire rainy day fund.
She opened her mobile banking app. Her savings balance stared back. $43,218. Almost the exact debt.
I've been saving for a decade. But I spent even longer building my career. I can't lose both.
With a single tap, she emptied her savings and paid the company in full. The receipt printed silently. The debt to the firm was gone. Her personal cushion was not.
Now, I am a creditor to my own brother. That's a strange kind of power.
She tucked the receipt into a leather folder and bought a new RFID blocking wallet. Never again. But before she could collect from Eric, she had to survive the month with a zero balance. Janet's lawyer drafted the promissory note on thick cream paper, $43,200 at 8% APR, payable over 30 months. She found Eric in the county jail visitation room, wearing an orange jumpsuit, his defiance dulled.
If I don't sign, I rot in here. But that truck is my last freedom.
Sign it, Eric. You owe me $43,200, and you are going to pay it back with interest. The truck is collateral.
Eric's hand trembled as he took the pen. He signed at the bottom, then pushed his pickup keys across the table. The promissory note was notarized right there, the ink still wet. Janet now held a legal claim over every asset he had. The red pickup sat parked outside his apartment, its title now a pledge in Janet's folder.
I went from brother to debtor in 10 seconds. She looks at me like a bank.
Janet walked out into the harsh jail corridor, the signed note folded against her chest. The debt was now irreversible.
30 months. $1,584.5 a month. He'll hate it, but he'll pay. I'll make sure of it.
The criminal case concluded in a single afternoon. Eric stood before the judge in a borrowed suit that didn't fit. He received 3 years probation and was ordered to pay full restitution, but that debt had already been satisfied by Janet.
The judge thinks this is over, but Janet's promissory note is the real sentence. 8% interest, 30 months.
The next morning, his ex-wife filed an emergency petition for sole custody, attaching the felony conviction as evidence of unfitness. The judge granted full custody within a week. Eric lost every right to his children. The news hit the family before the roast was carved. Janet's mother blamed her for the whole situation.
They blame me, but I didn't make him a criminal. I just stopped paying for it.
The room split into factions, those who thought Eric got what he deserved, and those who called Janet cruel.
If this is the price of peace, I'll pay it.
Eric's life lay in ruins, but the ink on the conviction notice sealed more than his guilt. It sealed their estrangement. Eric posted the red pickup on a selling site. The day after signing, a stranger handed him cash, and he handed over the keys.
This was the only thing I owned. Now it's hers in installments.
30 days later, the first check arrived at Janet's office. $1,584.5. Eric's handwriting was shaky, but the amount was exact.
This is what justice looks like. A paper check and a ledger entry.
She opened a fresh notebook. Row 1. Eric. Payment. 1/30th. balance 40,030, sinus balance $41,615.5. Eric found a warehouse job across town. Graveyard shift, minimum wage, but it kept him out of jail.
I used to swipe a card for dinner. Now I stack boxes to pay for that card.
Janet deposited the check. Her savings balance ticked upward, but she didn't reply to his note. The month passed without a word between them. The pickup sat in a stranger's driveway, the promissory note in Janet's safe.
29 more months. Enjoy the warehouse, Eric.
By the sixth payment, Sunday dinners had become a courtroom. Relatives brought up Eric's name before the salad was served. Her aunt accused her of destroying Eric over a few $1,000s. Her mother only nodded.
They still think I had a choice. The company gave me 30 days. Eric took 6 months.
She pushed her chair back. The scraping sound silenced the room.
I can't do this anymore. These Sunday dinners are a trial, and I am the only one who shows up guilty.
She deleted the family group chat before she reached the door. Her thumb hovered over Eric's contact, then withdrew. An hour later, she sat alone in the park. The cold air smelled cleaner than that dining room.
This is what peace costs. A full inbox of accusations and an empty Sunday afternoon.
The checks kept arriving like clockwork. She deposited them without a word. The ledger her only companion. She stopped going to Sunday dinners. The silence was restful, and she decided it was worth every dollar. 2 years had passed. 24 checks, no phone calls. Eric's warehouse pay stub showed double shifts and forced overtime.
Every dollar I earn, a chunk goes to Janet. But if I stop, probation violation.
Janet's checking account had slowly climbed. She hadn't asked Eric for a single cent beyond the note.
He's paying out of fear, not remorse. That's enough for me.
She bought the RFID blocking wallet, tucking the new corporate card inside. Old habits died hard.
A small vacation. First time in 2 years I am not drowning.
She booked a weekend in the mountains. No Wi-Fi, no calls, just silence. Eric, meanwhile, ate ramen in his apartment. The guitar sold months ago, the television now secondhand. 6 more payments and the ledger would read 0. But the debt between them was measured in years, not dollars. Neither sibling had spoken a word since the jail cell. The silence was the only thing they shared. The 30th envelope arrived without ceremony, just another check in a stack, but this one read, "Final," in the memo line. Janet slid it open with the same letter opener she used for bills. The check for $1,584.5 slipped out, damp from the mail. She drove to the ATM after work. The terminal's glow too bright in the dusk. The machine hummed, then printed the deposit receipt, plus $1,584.5. Current balance. She didn't look. Back at her desk, she opened the ledger and wrote the final entry. Eric, payment 30/30. Balance, $0. The promissory note went to a notary off Main Street, the same one who'd witnessed its birth. The stamp came down hard, paid in full. The ink bled slightly, but the word was unmistakable. She photocopied the stamped note and slipped the original into a certified envelope addressed to Eric.
I am done. No celebration, no message. Just an empty space where his debt used to live.
The envelope hit the mailbox, and the weight that Janet had carried for 3 years finally lifted. Janet sat at her desk with the completed ledger open, running her finger down the column of zeros.
All those payments, and the real cost was trusting him in the first place.
She took the copy of the promissory note from its folder and fed it into the shredder, one strip at a time. The machine's grind filled the room, then stopped. The silence felt heavier than the sound.
Silence. That was the gift Eric gave me. It took 3 years to unwrap.
She had walked to the cafe on the corner, the same window seat where she'd once counted the cost.
I don't miss him. I miss the idea of a brother who never existed.
She pulled out her phone, scrolled past the empty family chat, and landed on Eric's name. Her thumb didn't press delete. She locked the screen and watched the steam rise from her tea. The wait was gone. The auditor had flagged it Monday, but Janet had closed the case. For good. A letter arrived from the CEO, heavy stock and official seal. The internal investigation was officially closed.
They're closing the file. After all this time, the company believes me.
We commend your integrity and full cooperation. In recognition, we are promoting you to Vice President. The promotion ceremony was held in the boardroom. Senior executives stood to applaud as Janet accepted the VP plaque.
VP. The auditor's Monday morning email led here. Who would have believed that?
The CEO asked her to share her experience at the annual meeting to teach others about financial security.
I learned that trust isn't a security feature. Verify every statement, guard your card, and never assume someone won't use it.
The audience of employees listened in silence. Her words would later be turned into a mandatory training module. Afterward, she returned to her office and framed the commendation letter beside the paid promissory note.
One document almost destroyed me. The other proved I survived.
The auditor flagged it Monday, and the company turned her crisis into a lesson. Janet's reputation was now untouchable. Janet studied the holiday invitation on her credenza, her mother's looping cursive spelling out the date.
No anger. No grief. Just a clean, still indifference like a pond in winter.
She placed the envelope on the credenza, when opened, and walked to her desk. An email from her aunt loaded in her inbox. The preview laced with accusations about breaking the family.
Family doesn't steal $43,000 and expect you to pay the bill, too.
She dragged the email to the trash, then emptied the folder. No reply was the only reply she'd give. Sunday morning, she drove to the reservoir with a book and a wool blanket, determined to restore her peace. She read on a bench for hours, the sound of ducks and distant traffic washing over her like white noise. When the sun dropped behind the pines, she closed her book and realized she hadn't thought about Eric or her mother once. She was finally free. The silence she once feared had become her sanctuary. The next morning, Janet hung the two frames side by side on the wall of her office, a shrine to the Monday that could have destroyed her. One held the CEO's commendation letter, thick with praise. The other, the promissory note stamped paid in full, its ink still bold.
Patrick flagged my card on a Monday. Now, 3 years later, I am the VP. His audit didn't kill me, it built me.
She stepped back, measuring the symmetry. The letter on the left, the note on the right, the perfect balance of accusation and exoneration. Then, she picked up her phone and scrolled to Eric's contact. His name still glowed like a scar that had never quite healed.
I carried his name for 30 months, and he never called once. It's time to put it down.
Her thumb hovered for a heartbeat, then pressed delete. The confirmation popped up. Delete contact. She tapped yes. The screen flickered, and his name vanished as if it had never been there. On the wall, the two frames caught the morning light, casting a slanted shadow. Janet's case was closed. Her phone was clean, and the silence that followed felt exactly like justice. A week later, Janet sat in the corner cafe, a cup of jasmine tea warming her hands. The city skyline had never looked so still, so indifferent to her past. She smiled without meaning to, a reflex of relief, not performance. Her phone lay silent on the table, no notifications, no accusations. In the glass, she saw a woman who had once been crushed by a spreadsheet and now owned the company that generated it.
I used to check my balance every morning. Now I just check that I am still breathing.
She inhaled deeply, and the air tasted like chamomile and freedom. The weight of $43,000 had been replaced by the lightness of zero. Zero debt, zero contact, zero obligation. She had her life back. Not the one she had before Eric, but one built brick by brick after him, and that was enough.